Hello, I'm your host, DeAndrea Bolden, and you are tuned in to the Faith and Mental Health Podcast. Listen, guys, hey, we're back for another great week, and I have an incredible guest with me today. You know how I do. I'm not going to introduce him. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. The man, the myth, the legend. Go ahead. Let the people know who you are.
Hi, everybody. My name is Steve Sewell. It's really great to be with you. I have the most amazing opportunity to live in Southern California and to serve my community, my as my kids call it, my people, and as a grief counselor, a speaker, and a trainer, and a chaplain.
Nice, nice, nice. Now, you're just a little side note. You're not near the wildfires, are you?
I actually live about 30 minutes from the Pasadena-Altadena fires, and
Okay.
then about 60 minutes away from the Pacific Palisades fire. So, and I've already been in the middle of some deployments and things like that. And so yeah, lots going on there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know it's a lot going on. And, to anybody that's tuned in, if you want to support families and individuals that have, gone through what, being displaced, losing their homes, whatever the scenario is, please make sure you reach out to reputable, credible sources, give to people directly that were absolutely in, especially if it's your family or friends, what their situation is. But yeah, if you want to give, make sure you vet who you're giving, because there's a lot of scams going out right now, and I'm not going to take a lot of time to dwell on that. But wherever there is a tragedy, there are scammers, and so we will move on from there. And so yeah, so our thoughts and our prayers are with those that are going through. And so yeah, let's be as supportive as we can.
Yeah.
So Steve, listen, I'm excited to have you on here today. And so I want to talk about your work. I almost said word, your work as a chaplain. That is something that people hear. They may have even come across a chaplain, but I don't really think a lot of people understand the work of a chaplain and how that can correlate to being a support as far as mental health. Can you kind of dive into that, please?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people will think about a chaplain in the terms of like military chaplain because they've seen a television show or a movie that correlates a chaplain in the cast or in the storyline. Some people have related to chaplaincy as relates to being in the hospital, where there's a spiritual care counselor or a spiritual director or what we have what some hospitals call psychosocial and spiritual care, and a
Yeah.
lot of times they put it all into one
Yeah.
job or one function. And so obviously being in the hospital, that would entail working through hearing bad news, working with next of kin after a passing, or working with the staff, connecting that way. And so the role of a chaplain is very unique because it creates a bridge to the community from spiritual care. So a lot of times I will say, a pastor is always inviting people to their church, to his or her place of worship
Mm-hmm.
or a Bible study or a parish event or um, a youth ministry camp or something like that. We're always inviting people that we know to something.
Yeah.
Well, and that pastor usually has a congregation of many,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's 5 or 5,000. And
Right.
so there's that. The beautiful thing about a chaplain is that his or her congregation is the person that's in front of them. And so we kind of have an audience of one, if you
That's
will, or an
good.
audience of a few, whoever is it is that's in front of us. One, and number two, we're not inviting them to anything. We're actually invited into their space. So we are the ones being connected. And if we are doing any invitation, it's very open-handed and it's very, how could I come alongside you in your time right now? So that's the beautiful thing that, the differences. And boy, there are so many different kinds of chaplaincy going on right now. That's really exciting. Obviously, there's military, there's
Right.
healthcare, which would incorporate um, mental health facilities, drug and addiction, different kinds of chaplain work there,
Right.
hospice, which I've been a part of for a number of years, marketplace chaplains who actually work alongside companies and corporate entities, agencies to come alongside their employees and their staff and their families, as well as
Okay.
jail, police, fire, all those kinds of
I
things.
never heard of chaplains as far as corporate. That's very different. That kind of but I guess it does make sense because a lot of times the staff, the employees can need support in various capacities. So that definitely makes sense. Um when you were talking, I'm sorry. I want to talk a little bit more about working like in a addiction and recovery facility. Addiction is a very, 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 very big issue in this country. For those that are listening in the US. But it really is getting bad. It's everywhere. It just some of the videos and pictures you see of people literally looking like zombies. To kind of give a description to it. It really, really is bad. So I want to talk about a little bit about the work and the support you do or that you've done or that you can do in an addiction and recovery facility. I think we really need to, even through faith and mental health, like a lot of times we talk about mental health, we talk about anxiety, depression, grief, and trauma, but we don't tie that back into substance use because most people that are dealing with substances have some. You can find the trauma if you trace backwards. You can find the grief if you trace backwards. For years ago I had my CAADC DP through the state of Michigan, and I worked with hundreds of people in various stages or various states of addiction and recovery. And so I think this is very, very important. And so we're going to talk about faith and mental health. We have to be honest about substance use and abuse, even in the faith community, even in the pulpit, clergy, high out of their mind, preaching sermons, drunk at home. We have to be honest and realize that people are struggling. So I want to take a minute and I want to segue and I want to talk about the work of the chaplain in a addiction and recovery type setting.
Yeah, that's a really it's a really great topic, Tandra, because there is not only just a need for a holistic approach
Mm-hmm.
to treat or to come alongside uh, those who are working with substance abuse and having to navigate steps of recovery, steps of hope, if you will. But also there's the other side of that, or there's two other sides of that, which is the helper, the ones that come alongside on a regular basis, the ones that are maybe employed as an addiction specialist or an addiction counselor. There's levels in that. Uh, and then there's the other workers, such as the director of medical services, the nurses, the techs, everybody who is working in a facility or anybody who's working within a drop-off center, drop-in center, those kinds of things. Um, so there's that. But then what oftentimes is overlooked is the families that are suffering with those who are working with
Very
substance.
true.
And so the role of a chaplain is really a beautiful, unique um, function of being able to come alongside individuals at whatever spiritual level they are,
Mm-hmm.
We're not forcing
Right.
a particular viewpoint or a
Correct.
doctrine. But what we're doing is we're coming alongside people, whatever level they are, and being able to say, talk to me about how values and of faith and
Hmm.
you know, very real concerns about their life. A lot of times, pastors, kind of going back to that dichotomy between a pastor and a chaplain, a pastor will often say, "Where do you go to church?" Well, that's never a question that a chaplain will ask right
Right.
away. That might be a question that, 3 or 4 sessions or 3 or 4 things deep in, but we're never asking, "Hey, where do you go to church?" We're always asking, "Tell me about your life. Tell me about your values." And so that's where a chaplain can really come along close. We know, because we work with mental health all the time, that spiritual care is an intricate part of the holistic healing of their mind,
There you go.
and so it's such an important part, whether we have a chance to pray or not. I mean, gosh, that would be great if we had an opportunity to always, pray,
Yeah.
open our spiritual readings, or,
Yeah.
whatever it
Yeah.
be. But really, that's not the idea. The idea is to come alongside and walk with those people,
Yeah.
including family members and workers who are dealing on a daily basis.
I think that's really, really good. And thank you for taking the time to really help people understand the difference between the role of a chaplain and the role of a pastor. And I also thought it was very important about what you said, like, hey, we're not here to, push any particular belief system. We're just here to work with you and walk with you and support you right where you are, right at if your faith level is at the basement, they're there to walk with you. If you feel like your faith is in the stars, they're right there to walk with you. And so I think that's a very beautiful and a very important thing. And I like something that you mentioned, and that's something that I really want people to understand, because sadly, when you talk about the integration of faith and mental health, you get a lot of pushback. You'll be surprised the people that will make threats against you, that will attack you and say and do all type of things because it makes them so angry. Sometimes it's because people have their own hostility to a particular faith system or a particular doctrine or belief system or whatever, because of their own past experience, or because they feel like life's hardships kind of squoze faith out of them, and there's a bitterness like, hey, well, why would God let this happen, or this. And so, but what you said is important, because you have the people that are, trust the science. Okay, well, the science says that people that go to church on a regular basis do better mental health wise. The science says that people that have faith in God have better outcomes for mental health. So since we want to say trust the science, then let's not ignore what it's saying that is a positive about how faith, belief in God, fellowshipping with other believers, and being a part of a faith community can result in better mental health outcomes. And I know somebody may hear this and it may ruffle their feathers, but that's okay, because we're going to say trust the science, like everyone always says. But Steve, I'm gonna let you jump in because it looked like that kind of.
Yeah, no, no, I think this is such a great topic. It's such a great conversation. There was in 2000, I think I believe it was 2015 or 16. There was a study done at University of Southern California and USC, and the question came out as, how do you do how do you do life, or am I there for you? And the question came as a result of a study, because they wanted to see how people who feel lonely or feel disengaged or disenfranchised to faith or to care. And so after they identified the scale of what "are you there for me" is like, I feeling cared about, empathy, not just sympathy. Is there some differences on how to show physicality care, emotional care, spiritual care, even what a lot of people will just call soul care, or
Yeah.
maybe even just love for ourselves, a self-care. So after they identified all those things, here's the great thing that was a really big takeaway. When people said that they feel cared about, when they said yes, they feel cared about, anxiety dropped, and loneliness, obviously, was at an all-time low. But when people said no, they don't feel cared for, the overall response was, I feel more burdened and I feel less connected. And I don't know of anybody, whether you're short, fat, tall, skinny, go to one church, go to another church, whether you live in Southern California close to a
Hmm.
beach, or you're in Indianapolis when it's cold right now, wherever it is. It doesn't even matter. Nobody wants to feel less cared about.
Yeah.
So chaplains really have a way of being able to say, I recognize you. I recognize the place you're in. You're feeling happy today. Let's share about what that's like. Or your smile has left you. I've watched you for 4 days, and your smile has seemed to move away from your life. Can we talk about where your smile has gone? And there's something really special about being able to care about people. And that's the role of a chaplain.
That's good. That's good. You said something that again is it kind of stuck out to me. Soul care. Soul care is something that we're seeing more and more of in the wellness, slash mental health community. But soul is not really a term you hear a lot in psychology. And so psychology is simply the study of the mind, behavior, things of that nature. But from a Christian perspective, we see the soul as the mind, the will, and the emotions. And so either way, psychology is studying human behavior, which is dealing with your will, studying your mind, which is your thinking. It'll talk about your emotions, which is your feelings and how you're doing. And so what they kind of say is personality in the psychological community is what we will say is a soul in more of a faith-based or even a wellness community. And so I just wanted to say that. And so, yeah, is it well with your soul? How are you doing? Because mental health is your emotional and psychological well-being. Are you able to handle the stresses of life, the ups and downs, the challenges, and be able to cope? Are you able to manage relationships? Are you able to manage your finances and manage your life in a way that is productive? And so I like how you talked about holistic, how the role of a chaplain is quite holistic, because that's something that I talk a lot about is holistic integrative mental health care, because you can't just look at what's going wrong with a person. You have to look at their whole life. Oh my gosh, DeAndrea, you seem so stressed. Well, you know, so it's like, okay, what are factors that are causing that stress? Are there any changes I can make that can reduce my stress load?
Yeah.
We have to start looking at the whole person. Okay, a person is stressed out and they're missing work and they're getting behind on their bills and stuff, but they're going through a divorce. So sometimes we have to recognize that there are so many other factors that are a part of a person's life that can impact their mental health. And so we have to realize, I always say people are not their diagnosis. People are greater than their circumstances, but we have to look at their whole life in order to treat the whole person and give them the proper support and care that they need. And so, yeah, so soul care, caring for people, looking out for people, supporting people, figuring out, all the moving parts, Listen, there are some people right now that would miraculously be healed if you fill their bank account out. Now, there's some people with a bank full of money that they're sad every day. So obviously money isn't the problem. But some people, you put some money in their pocket, they're gonna feel a whole lot better all of a sudden. They got a pep in their step, they can get out of the bed, because sometimes there's circumstances and things that are contributing to why we feel the way we feel. And so go ahead, jump in.
The beautiful thing about about listening to people and about offering care. We're not even directing care. Um, we're offering, and so we kind of lay our hands out, if you will, and we're able to provide resources if they ask us.
Yeah.
Certainly in a situation where if there's a peril need, if they're going to hurt themselves, if they're going to hurt
Yeah.
others, well, yeah, then we have an obligation as mental health
Duty to warn. Yeah.
experts, mental health workers, to provide that care, which is a part of the soul care.
Yeah.
But the art of listening and the art of offering is such a big impactful part of what we do. And I will often talk about how like in my faith, it says in the Bible that Jesus wept. Well,
Yeah.
Jesus wept because he was filled with emotions, and
Yeah.
we also feel with emotions. I said something to a person yesterday that I haven't said in quite a while, and they were really taken back by it. But I said, let hard things hurt.
Yeah.
Let hard things hurt like they ought to, so that you could feel the weight of letdown and breakup and
Yeah.
discouragement and things like that. But we're so busy trying to like make it past things and things like that. And the role of a chaplain, the role of a spiritual care director, the role of a mental health worker, associate, care provider, all those things, we're really geared. We're really supposed to be, no shame in that, but we're really supposed to be offering a listening and an offering background, and that's really what this should all be about anyway, including our faith, right?
Yes, yes. That's good. That's good. So to those that are listening in, I have been talking with Steve Sewell. And so he's out of California. He's a chaplain, he's an author, he's a grief counselor, if I can get it out, a speaker, and so much more. And so I've had a pleasure talking to him today. And so I want to give him a few minutes to close us out, let you know how you can contact him, how you can get a hold of any books he's written, or connect with him in any way if you're interested in his work. I want to make sure you're able to connect with the people that are guests on the podcast, because that's the whole point, is connecting with other people, learning, growing together, all that stuff. So yeah, go ahead, Steve.
So a lot of times people will say, "Are you on socials?" And I said, "Yes, I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Um, you can reach out to me through those channels. My website is stevensewell.me, M-E. So Steven, StevenSewell.me. And you can find my books. You can find how to reach me. A lot of people will set up counseling sessions through those. A lot of people will start looking at that with booking for a conference or a special guest at a staff meeting, or I was just on a panel at Life Pacific University, Christian University here in Southern California,
Nice.
a couple days ago, on this very topic of integrating our faith and mental health. That was a lot of fun.
That's good.
And with about 7 or 8 other clinicians in the area. And so love to do things like that. I really help um, people bridge what they need or what they would like to have in their life uh, to a greater impact. And so that's really my mission in life, corporate side, faith side. So I do a little bit of both.
That's good. That's good. So thank you again, Steve, for joining me today. Thank you to everyone that is tuning in. And so I hope you learned some great things. I learned more about the work of chaplains. I am connected to some other chaplains, so I did have some information, but it's always good to learn more. There's always more to learn we always have to forever be students, no matter who you are and where you are in life. We have to stay students and we have to stay learning. Thank you again, Steve, and God bless you all.
Thank you, guys.